My name is Sean Brown, and welcome to the behind the scenes of The Irony of Preservation. Today, we'll be going over how we made the film, our inspirations, and the special effects. I think this film is definitely my most ambitious project so far in my career, not only because it's a historical piece, but it also involved CGI. So where do we begin? Well, let's talk about the story. The main story that it is based off of is about a fisherman who captured a bird and thought it was a witch, and killed it after 3 days, hoping that it would stop the storm, which ironically it did stop.
Oh yeah, it was the first time I'd ever heard about it. Of course, I looked it up immediately. One of the reasons why I wanted to do it, because it's really a crazy, interesting story that most people don't know about, and really had an effect on an entire ecosystem.
I wanted to give the bird a supernatural sense to it, so I kind of made it like this dying spirit, like it's one of the spirits of the ocean. I got a big inspiration from Pirates of the Caribbean, mostly because of how it mythologizes the ocean, and I thought it'd be a really interesting idea to put in my film. Now, in the film, the main character goes to Funk Island to find the Great Auk, and while this is a real island, we had to take some creative liberties. We decided to film more inland to show how scarce the birds were and how they moved into the forest to avoid hunters. We really wanted to make sure that our other environments represented the time period, so we made sure that everyone dressed up in the most accurate clothing.
It was really fun in a way that it makes you realize that there's so many things that go right and go wrong behind the scenes, but the idea is to make it look to the audience like everything is perfect and going right. And the way the scene looked, no one will know that there was anything wrong with the pant size unless they're hearing this. So
And since Frederick was a collector of animals, we had to transform my grandma's upstairs living room into an odd trophy room. The shack scene was also filmed in my grandma's house. We had to remove a lot of stuff out of her shed. It was a mess. This was all to fit the camera and a couple of the crew members, but it was worth it. The rain effect that we used in the film was just us using a sprinkler and aiming it at the window. Now comes the most interesting part of discussion, the VFX. My biggest inspiration and guide was the documentary series Walking with Dinosaurs. I have always wanted to make something similar to this, so it was a big risk for me to do this, especially since this was actually the first time I ever used VFX in a film. Over the summer, me and the animator did many tests, and we eventually made the model of the Auk. We used a green Christmas ball ornament for the actor's eyeline, but it was also used for the animator to see what the lighting was when he was rendering it in the film. The scene was actually supposed to be longer with the chase scene, but with the lack of time we had, we decided that this scene still fits in. For the film, we also made a life-sized Auk model for the collection room scene. It's 3 feet tall, and luckily, it weighed less than 10 pounds. We also made a hand puppet that was used in the shack scene. I think without the model, the scene wouldn't really have the same emotional power that it does now. It's also great that the model doesn't look like a toy, so that we actually can take it seriously.
And when I was on set that one day, also an amazing set too, which was really great. That also helped my character a lot. And I saw this bird and I was like, oh my goodness, it kind of looks like some weird dodo bird, like some total thing that's like, from some history book, which it is, and you can kind of see why it wasn't long for the world, this world.
There were actually a lot of practical effects that were used in the film. The Auk egg was something I bought off of Etsy, the bones were found along the railroad tracks I live by, and the bird's guts were from the old baby model I used for Fatherhood Stress, my last film. Another thing to mention is that the paper that Frederick shows Matt in this scene is supposed to be a reference to the real-life Great Auk Cigarette Company. The company doesn't exist anymore, so I'm sure I'm not going to have any problems with them. I can't also forget to mention about Warhammer paints from Games Workshop. I love using these and I use them all the time. They work surprisingly well. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching, and make sure you check out The Irony of Preservation on YouTube or any of your local film festivals. I'll see you around.